Here's my first question. Something that's real interesting to me is you seem to view basketball and maybe sports in general as kind of a form of self-expression, and you seem to write about it that way, as almost like a not art criticism or music criticism, but there's a hint of that in your work. And I wonder what's more fun for you or interesting to you, analyzing the actors, the guys on the court, or the audience, and the way that those actions are interpreted.
I mean, I don't really know how much I can do either. I don't really know what the audience is thinking. I'm part of the audience. I guess I could ask someone sitting next to me what they're thinking and then write that down. As far as the actors per se, I don't like to say I know what so-and-so is thinking. All I can do is read what they're doing and talk about not what it means to me, because I'm a deep person with lots of feelings who is like a pet cow that I like to kick off a cliff every once in a while. But more, thank you. More what they're doing and the impressions they're conveying, how that plays into sort of the meaning that's been created around them. And I think this is sort of complicated because then you get into like what's real about these players versus what's not, what are we imagining and projecting versus what's actual hard facts we could ascribe to them. And I think sadly, it's always going to be kind of murky. But I try and avoid saying, when I saw Kobe do that, I knew he was thinking, my mom is ugly, or whatever the hell. You know what I mean? Because that's dumb. Like, I don't know what Kobe's thinking. He doesn't call me and tell me.
Beautiful mom. So you're working.
You shouldn't say that about it.
You're working with the Bleacher Report
just
now.
Weird.
We've got a lag. It's tricky. We're wearing matching blue plaid shirts though, so let's just roll with it. You're now working with the Bleacher Report. As someone who's done a lot of editing along with your writing, does it feel good to kind of be able to turn over the SEO and the tech side of it and just feel like you're really just writing and that you've got like a good strong background behind you in that regard?
Well, I certainly think that's a lot of the appeal of that company. I mean, anyone who works in our industry will say that about that company. I mean, they just got a gazillion more dollars thrown at them, and it's not being thrown at them because people are fans of, the slideshows that everyone seems to not like reading. I mean, they are clearly very good at using the internet and getting the internet to work. I've worked for companies that have no clue what they're doing with the internet, and as a result, I ended up with no job there after a while. So I think, there are problems with some of their content. We all know that. But at the same time, this is only part of what I'm doing. And if they're going to be smart about getting my stuff out there, it's a balance. I'm not 100% in with them. I'm still doing, obviously, lots of other things. But this is definitely something I'm not embarrassed to have as part of what I'm working on.
So you're someone who, you don't live in an NBA city, you live in Seattle, my old hometown, and a lot of your writing that has been kind of, I wouldn't say your most successful, your most influential maybe, has been separated in some degree from the game. What do you think it says about the direction that the Bleacher Report wants to take, that they kind of align themselves with your brand, which is a really defined and successful brand? Don't choke yourself on camera. They're not paying enough for that.
I think I just hanged myself with a stethoscope. You got to ask me about my other shit too, though, because I do have a 2-track mind on these now. Yeah, good. We also just changed our Twitter handle. I'm really excited about that. I think, not to sound like an egotistical dick, maybe just an egotistical jerk, but, they hired me to write what I write, and I think it'll come as no surprise to anyone that when you start to see some of my stuff on there, it's going to be closer in spirit to what I've done for other more mainstream outlets, like when I wrote for AOL or when I've written for a place like Sports Illustrated or ESPN. It's not going to be, the full-on Free Darker experience. That is more what my other project is about. But they've been very clear with me. We like the stuff that you've done that is the more sort of semi-straightforward stuff, and that's what we want to pay you to do. And I mean, I've yet to have them look at anything and say, we just really think this is not what we wanted you to do. I mean, I wasn't going to do this if they didn't, want me for me or something.
Yeah, and I should, just to be clear, as everyone knows who's watching this, Shoals is a part of the Classical, and Ethan's going to be talking to him about that. I've just got one more question, and that is, as excellent. As far as the actually like working with writers, is that something you're excited about, like helping younger writers kind of find a more professional voice?
Yeah, this is rolling out a lot of people at the same time, and this is sort of a big, this is obviously a big move for them as a company. They weren't really going to go into a lot of the fine details about exactly who was doing what. I'm not actually going to be so involved as some of the other guys that they brought on in, working with writers to become, more professional, says the person who tried to hang himself with a stethoscope and just wrote that his dick was a slideshow. But I mean, that is something I do enjoy, and I'm certainly, look, I ran a blog for years. A lot of people who either were coming up or had never written before ended up writing really good things for it. I think I'm good at that, and I enjoy doing that. And again, I'm not one of these people who's going to say like anyone writing anywhere in the Bleacher Report system must be necessarily evil, and the only good things happening there are their lead writers that they brought in, which is what I see some people saying. I mean, look, clearly, and this is what I said in my sort of intro piece, if you try and start a blog now, there's a good chance no one will ever read it. Now, if there was a thing that was this incredibly robust platform where you could go in, start writing there, that it had some credibility so people weren't going to like laugh at you for starting your writing there, and you were brought up through the ranks and blah, 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 blah. I mean, that to me, maybe that's not ultimately what's going to happen, but that does not seem like an unhealthy vision for either that company or for, everyone in the industry who's trying to start out. And again, am I promising that? Am I in any position to? No, but I mean that's the sort of thing that I like to think is the best case scenario for for this whole thing.